Hi, Flosstube. It's Lisa Smith. This is, and I'm Kindred Stitcher. This is video 114, and today is February 23rd, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's February 23rd. It's Friday, so my computer stopped working at work last night. There's a whole process to get another computer. It's not easy. It's very frustrating, but I'm sitting on standby waiting for somebody to call me to verify that they're going to mail it. Hopefully it comes this weekend so I can continue working because I have some time off coming up and I need to be ready for that. So it gives me a chance to come on here and do a video. It's been a few weeks and there are some things to talk about. So first I would like to talk about some giveaways. I had a giveaway about 4 videos ago. And there might be some background noise. I apologize. My husband's going to be running some machinery out there outside working on getting our house ready to pour a foundation. But I had a video where I had given away this Golden Delicious and all the Roxy Floss Co. threads to go with it. And when I had some other giveaways too, and I had people respond. For some reason, I thought that this one had gone out in the mail, but it hadn't. The person had not responded. I just didn't want to go back and start pulling things from that video again because, let's be honest, time has gone by and probably nobody's going to go watch that video at this point. They're moving on to the new stuff, right? So I am going to give this away in today's channel. So this is Golden Delicious by the Artsy Housewife. If you would like this giveaway, including the floss, please comment in your comment the word golden. I went through a bunch of my stash here and picked out some things that I'm going to de-stash, but also a couple more things to give away. And they are, this first one is a sweet one that I had from a retreat. It's a small, and I stitched this one. It's my Wish for You from Heartstring Samplery. And I'm not sure if she released this one or not, but this one, if you would like this one, please comment the word wish in your comment. And then the last one is a pin keep I stitched. It was a little kit, so there's some thread left. I stitched this and used the finishing materials. If you would like this pattern by Samplers Not Forgotten, please write the word earn, U-R-N. That should generate some interesting comments. So I thought I would go ahead and talk about giveaways to start this video because sometimes it seems like they're at the end and I like to mix it up. So let's talk about whips. What have I been working on? It's been a few weeks and shoot, I went to the coast again, the beach one weekend. I think I went 3 weekends in a row. I went for a girls' weekend and I didn't stitch that weekend because we were out on the beach combing. We were chatting. Some of the girls couldn't come who were supposed to come. These are my college friends. And we just had a great time. So we're going to go again probably in April so that everybody has a chance to go. And what else? Last weekend, I pulled all of the fabric I've been hoarding for the last year because I haven't really sewn in about a year that I have in mind for project bags. And I cut and cut and cut and cut fabric one day last weekend. So today I'm going to pull it out and cut the rest of the fabric into strips. And then from the strips, I cut them into rectangles that will be used in making the bags. So that's sort of what I've been working on. And excuse me, between my last video and when I went to the beach, that first week, I worked on Susanna Milne. So Susanna is 1843 by Hands Across the Sea. It's gorgeous. This is such a pretty pattern, and she's big. She is 277 by 347. On my whip list, she is an extra large. I think she's a 2XL. So I have 38 whips right now, and my goal is to be in the 20s by next year. So I had 10 projects targeted to finish this year, and then I started 3 more. So I have 13, I think. I have 13, but I also abandoned a whip. I abandoned, what was it? I can't remember. I abandoned one of my whips. which is fine. Yeah, I get to choose that, right? And I think I didn't like the fabric and I was going to restart it at some point in the future. So I'm a little bit all over the place today. I worked on Susanna Mill, and this is being stitched on 40 count powder pink by Zweigart with a called for DMCs. And you can see how big she is. Now, isn't that border fantastic? Nicola said in one of her videos, she thinks that these aren't actually supposed to be flowers, but hops instead, because Susanna lived in hops country, I guess, where there's a lot of hops grown in that part of England. So one of the things that I thought was interesting about this sampler is I was really kind of, I don't know, I wasn't drawn to working on it. And the greens are pretty bright, and the yellows are, this yellow that's in the middle here, the main yellow, like up here, is a very lemony yellow. So there's a lot of bright color saturation on top of a fabric that has quite a bit of color in it. And I finished working on the satin stitches that are inside this inset. And when I did that, it transformed this piece for me. I really enjoyed working on it after that. There was a lot better color in the, around in this middle part. This is a DMC, I think 610 or 611. So it's a brown drab color. And when you add these bits of color in the middle, it really warms the piece up. The last time I showed this, I had the top part done, but not all the satin stitch. So I finished that. I had this bird done, but not this part. So I have stitched this section down to here. I'm sorry, it was this one I had partly done. I had this bird in the top flower. So I finished this flower here, brought this all the way down and over, did this whole section in the middle and this whole bird over here. Now those birds, I call them the Devo birds because they look like Devo from the 80s, are confetti heavy. There is just lots and lots and lots of confetti on there. It gives it a great look, but it takes a lot of time. So I felt sometimes like I was running in place with this project, but I think I'm to the point now that when I pick this back up, I will finish and attach the border. I'm going to work my way down and over. And this next section here is this gorgeous vase, which I'm excited to work on. I'll work my way down on the left side and over and start stitching this. So this section here on the antique is about 6 stitches high, and it's satin stitch. So it's a long satin stitch, and you would probably want to stitch at the very last. It is probably prone to not wanting to stay in place as well as a regular stitch. So I'm not sure how I feel about it. I had thought about putting in a different specialty stitch, which I think I'm going to do. Now this little motif here is a checkerboard at the bottom. And I had thought about making this a checkerboard between 2 different colors, but I think it's too much in terms of checkering. So instead, what I've decided to do is use this color, and they will be basically 2 stitches high and 2 stitches wide. And I will do alternating Smyrna and rice stitches. So it's going to go pretty quickly. It's going to give it beautiful texture, and it's going to be fun to stitch. So once I do that, then I'll move my way over. I'll work on this motif here and this little bird, which I haven't gotten to yet. I'm going to start working on this, just working my way over until I'm done. I think because this is quite a bit of stitching, this will probably take me 2 more rotations before it's completed. Even though when you look at it, you're like, well, you don't have that much farther to go, but maybe I'll get so excited that I'll just push through and finish it, but I'm not sure. So I worked on that one, and I felt like I worked on that one forever. I felt like I just kept working and working and working on it, but I made progress. I eventually made my way through it and got to where I am now. The next one I picked up is my Christmas at Hawk Run Hollow. I'm stitching it with the NPI silks. They're hanging right here on the knob on my cabinet. My kids bought me the silks for Christmas. So I started at Christmas and I worked two of these, one full block in December and one partial block in Well, actually, part of this was in December and the rest of this was in January. And this one took a lot of stitching. So this last one, it says on the pattern, "This is my friends. When I'm gone, I leave for them to look upon. Remember that I wrought the same, for herein you will find my name." And then it says Mary Crow, 1801. So it doesn't really have meaning for me. I don't know who Mary Crow is, and nothing in the pattern talks about it. So I made one completely different. I just made up my own block. And I had seen this on the internet, the saying, and when I look at this pattern, I think of my grandmother, my mother's mother. She was always funny and smiled all the time and had a great laugh, and she loved to entertain. So Christmas is like right up her alley. Her name's Edna. She's long gone, but her memory always lives in my heart. This says, "You put your arms around me, and I could plainly see that all the love in your heart was there just for me." And it's got her name and her date of birth. So this over here it's 1921, and over here the New Year block is 1922, signifying that that's the next, that's the year after her birth. She was creative. She made quilts. I have a denim quilt that she made. I have a polyester quilt that she made. So this was 70s and 80s, remember? She had 5 kids and 15 grandkids, and she would often make us all a blanket or something unique for Christmas. So I made a block that kind of reminded me of Christmas. It looks a bit like a quilt block, but a little more abstract. In fact, you might look at this and go, "That makes me think about the polyester pants my mom, sewed for me in 1978. Because it seems like we wore a lot of flowery polyester clothes and plaid in the 70s. We were kids. So anyway, I love it, and I was super happy with that. Now, when I worked on it, I thought, well, it didn't take that long to stitch. It just took me a while. It took me a night to chart it and kind of come up with this motif. And so the next one, which would be my March block, is this one here. And this whole thing is, I heard the bells on Christmas Day. So that block says "A Peace on Earth." I'm going to put this down and show you. In fact, the bells on Christmas Day saying really ends right here. You could easily stitch this and be very complete in doing a nine patch, if you will, stitch, and not even do this bottom section. But I really wanted to dedicate something to my grandmother in this block. So this is actually, I think, my favorite block that I was looking forward to stitching. So I moved right over to it. And this is where I am. I'm going to go to the other side here so I can get you close. This was the grandmother's block, right? And here is the tree farm block. Now on the pattern it says Lowry Tree Farm, and there's a kind of a town close by that I was hoping to put on the name on the barn, but it's just like one letter too big. So I changed it to Noble Tree Farm. Oregon is one of the leading producers of Christmas trees in the nation. It might be the biggest one in terms of volume of trees that are grown and sold, but Noble trees are the #1 selling tree here. So Noble Tree Farm fits for the area that I live in. And that's what I did. I wrote Noble Tree Farm in there. So this is the back half of the barn, and there will be 3, I need clips or something. It'll have 3 wreaths, and then there'll be the roof and 2 fun weather vanes on top of the roof, a couple of birds and the saying, and then that block will be done. So I know that Todd and I are going to be gone in March for a vacation. We're going to the Grand Canyon, Bryce Canyon, Zion, Arches National Parks. We're going to do a bit of hiking, and hopefully it won't be too busy. And so I won't be stitching much. So I really wanted to get a head start and make sure that I was on track for completing that block in March, which should be no problem. Now, after that, I was thinking, well, I kind of thought maybe I should pick up Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain. So it's one of my older whips. It's also an extra, extra large. But I really wasn't in the mood to do it. And last night I picked up this one instead. And I've been sort of holding on to it, to stitching on it, because it's like dessert for me. This is Such a glorious stitch. I absolutely love working on it. It's an amazing pattern. It is Rosary Sampler by GGR. And it's absolutely stunning. So let me see if I can get this on here because it's a little bit bigger than the board. I'm going to hold up. Isn't that so, oh my gosh. I just knew when I started this that I'm going to want to stitch on it until it's done. But I didn't. I worked on going up the border, and I'm probably going to continue and just stitch the whole border. I think I stitched like 5 or 6 of these last night and a little bit this morning. So they go pretty quickly. They're fun stitches. You can see the colors. This chart gives you 2 options for the red. There's a Garden Gate, which is more of an antique look. It has more fading and more colors in the red / darker, dustier red. And then the other one is Claret. I didn't choose one. I used them both. So this, in the charted pattern, this is actually a brown flower, and I changed it to the Garden Gate, Garden Rose. I said the wrong name, I think. It is Rose Garden. Jiminy Christmas. Let me just show you what it looks like. Here's the Claret on right here, and here's the Rose Garden. So you can see how very different the colors are, and they will give you a different effect. But I stitched this flower in the Rose Garden and this one in the Claret, and then on the bottom, well, on the whole border, the inside I'm stitching with the Claret, and the outside I'm stitching with the Rose Garden. And can I say, look at those birds. Is that not just so gorgeous? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so I find myself just staring at the picture and deciding what motif I'm going to stitch first. Is it going to be that big, beautiful peacock, this little village, that wreath, the top scene, maybe some of these flowers? I don't know. All I know is it's going to be hard to put that one down. So those are the things that I worked on this time. I have a little bit of haul, not a ton, but I do have a little bit. I stopped at a couple quilt stores when I was out and about on my way to the beach, and I found this McKenna Ryan. It's actually, this is the full pattern, the full quilt, but I chose just this one, the Easter Bunny with all of the garden stuff. I just love it. And I think I could just do this as a raw edge applique. I probably have enough scraps to make that without even having to buy any material. I also ordered from Michelle, Farm Girl Dry Goods, R&R Winter Brew. She showed it on her, I think on Instagram, she showed that she had some. And so it went quickly. I went ahead and bought a fat quarter of 40 count. I also bought this Quaker from Primrose Cottage. And this Tis Spring from Brenda Gervais. Hello, Spring. I also went on my way to the coast, stopped at, let's see, where did I get this? On the way back, I stopped at the antique mall that I really like that's local, and I found these. So these, they were marked as rosewood, I think. Anyway, I don't know. I just like the composition, the style, and the colors. So pink and green, I love pink and green and red and gold together. Just my absolute favorite. I see this something that you could put in a craft room, and you could put little tchotchkes in here. You could put needles, like the little paper folders of needles. You could put, oh, there's just so much. You could put floss drops in them, and it's going to be a little handy and pretty containers in my craft room someday. Also, I don't know if you collect dishes. Lori and I talk about this all the time. Textiles, we both love dishes. I have Friendly Village, and I'm always adding to it. These square plates are harder to find, and I found 2 that were really very reasonable, so I bought those. And I saw this. So this is not an antique. it was on the end of the bed. And so there are 4 of these. And then the middle is, what does the middle look like? I think they're just joined together at the middle. So you can see it kind of creates a secondary pattern with the 9 patch and the diamond around it. But this is absolutely just my jam. And this would fit perfectly like on a sofa table or a square table as just a fun accent. It's imperfect. The person who bought it, there must have been some damage to the edge, so they added a bit of fabric on a couple of corners. And I absolutely love that about it. I think it's fun. It's very whimsical. It doesn't bother me at all. I didn't pay very much for this, but the colors are absolutely what I would pick. So I was thrilled. I'm like, I couldn't put that in my cart fast enough. When I went to the coast, I also did I stopped at another fabric store and bought some fabric for project bags, which prompted me to think I need to make some project bags. So Poppy Cotton I love their stuff. There are a couple gals, I don't know if they're friends or sisters. We met them one year at Trend West. It's at a store who would have shows for people wholesale accounts, and Lori bought through them. I was just the person tagging along. But they have this fabric. It's strawberries, and the inside will be this fabric. It's just the most adorable fabric you ever saw. In fact, I might stop and buy some more of that on my way back to the coast in April. And then this one is the same fabric, but in the reverse color. The teal, I'm going to put pink on the inside. So I have a ton of those to make, and I'm going to keep making them. And the way I sell these is on my Instagram stories. I will usually post when I'm getting ready to post for sale project bags. And I put them on my Instagram sales page, which is Kindred Stitcher Designs. And each post will be for one bag that's for sale. That's usually how I do it. Sometimes I have enough fabric where I'm going to have multiples, but most of the time it's just one post. Here's the bag, you can claim it. I have never increased the cost of the bags, and I'm going to have to increase it. So I will sell them for $35 each. They're about 13.5 wide. It varies a little bit. I did make a couple miscuts, so I might have a couple smaller bags in there too. I also did go through this and took duplicates out, maybe some things that I'm not going to stitch, and I will post those tomorrow. I'm sorry, either Saturday or Sunday on my sales page also. And I will put a Insta story under at Kindred Stitcher telling you what I'm going to post and when. So if you're interested, go on over and claim those. I'm probably going to bundle them together, some of them by designer. So, all right. So the last thing I want to share, well, a couple things here. My favorite market pieces. So there's so many. I mean, there's so many. I would just be like, oh, I like that one. And then the next designer would release it. I'm like, oh, I really like that one. So the one that caught my eye right away was Annie from Andy B's Folk Art. And she has mini mansions, which to me is a sister almost to Channing Street. And I love the stylized birds on the side. I really like that one. Another one that she has that I like is Down in the Valley. So that song, I mean, who doesn't remember grade school choir where you had to sing that song? So that's a beautiful one. And then she has another one of her pears. I think they're green pears this time. She has others as well. Another one that caught my eye was Teresa Vanette. Her sampler, Elizabeth Hannell, Hannell, 1840. And I was on a Zoom call with Teresa yesterday, and she showed the antique, and it's just stunning. It's so pretty. So check out that one. And then all of Stacey Nash's stuff. Maybe go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. In fact, Lindy Stitches, Stephanie, she had the same reaction. I'm sure a lot of you did as well. So I have one more purchase I want to share with you. It's an antique sampler. It's called Anne Farrier, and I didn't have it last time, and I have it now, and I just want to share it with you because it's just stunning. I'll try and hold it at an angle where it minimizes the amount of reflection and glare. So this is Anne Farrier. She stitched it. It's dated September 20th, 1826. I have not spent any time researching this. It came from England, and it looks like to me like an English sampler. It has her name up here, Anne Farrier. It's stitched, I think it's stitched with cottons. At first I thought it was wool, but it's not wool, and I don't think it could be silk, but I don't think it's silk. When this was framed, so this frame is gorgeous, and it looks like an older original frame. However, it's been reframed at some point because it's not laying on top of the mat below. There's about 1/4 of an inch of space between the stitch piece and the backing. It has crowns, like this is her father's initials, I believe, which is AF, and then over here I think it's her mother's initials, JF. And there are, I think, grandparents up here on both sides of the family. The black ones indicate that they've passed on. There are numerous crowns with initials below, and it could be, as I looked at it, I think it might be like Anne's sisters and brothers. There's 8, and one of them had passed. So I think they could be her sisters and brothers. What's interesting is the first names, they're all initials F at the end, which is why I think they're sisters and brothers. On one side, it's IF, TF, AF, and the other side, and another AF, and the other side is IF, IF, TF. So I'm like, how do you have so many first names that start with an I? Maybe they're family names, or maybe there's multiple kids with the same initial or even name. I don't know. Let's see what else is there. The eyelets, these are all eyelet stitches here, and this band in between is also eyelets. There's eyelets down here, there's eyelets in this part, and there's eyelets down here. Now the backing fabric is loose. It's a loose weave, and so she was able to pull that pretty taut, and the eyelets are gorgeous. There's a lot of them though, and the colors on this are just stunning. I absolutely love the colors. The edge is a rosebud stitch all the way up, and if you look kind of in behind here, I can see the nail heads of where the nails have been pushed into whatever is holding it, and there's a line of like a gray black border that goes all the way around. I'm not sure when I reproduce this if I'll put that border in or not. So this one, I'm super glad to have it. This is what the back looks like. It's got this little hanger at the top. It's an old school frame. It's been restrung or rehung at some point, but that's Anne Farrier. Just absolutely love her. And I thought I would show you sort of the first sampler that I bought. The first one that got me into collecting these. And I know you probably remember this if you've been with me all along, but isn't that a fantastic piece? It is stitched in wool, and the reds are so stunning, and there's butterflies all through it. It has the Lord's Prayer on it. It has this little gazebo at the bottom. It's Rachel Ogden, December 24th, 1858. And look at that, flower's gorgeous. I could study this. It's got this huge cartouche that goes around it. So pretty. There's definitely bruising. I call it bruising where the thread oxidized and bled, but that's okay. Always fun to look at. Well, right at 30 minutes. What's going on coming up? So we are working on house plans. My husband's been going back and forth with the engineer. We bought plans online. He had to engineer them. I live in Oregon. Oregon, California, and Washington require engineered trusses. You can't just build the trusses in the roof or stick belt in those states. The plans we bought were not built for trusses. So when Todd got a bid from the truss companies, they were trying to figure it out, and it's just been difficult. It's like walking through quicksand. So he's figuring that out, and I'm glad it's him because I might not have been as nice to some people as he was. So he's working on that, and we had to make some big decisions. And, it's sort of like making a quilt. If you adjust one block, you have to adjust a lot of things downstream. So there's a lot to think about. And we don't always see eye to eye on design, although he does defer to me. I'm like, this has to be centered. If it's not centered, when I drive down the driveway, I'm going to see it. And I'm going to be unhappy about that. So that's all I have to say. And he's like, okay. But I give a lot too. I trust him, and we're just coming to common ground. And I would say that after having been married for 32 years, 31 years, 32 years, we found a pretty good communication style. It has to be reasonable for both of us. You know what I mean? It has to be something where you're going to compromise, that it has to be acceptable. And for me, it might be just, it has to be acceptable in appearance. And for him, it has to be acceptable in terms of cost and being doable, because he's not a general contractor. So I'm trying to simplify the plans to make it as easy for him while retaining the charm of the house. So that's going on. If I had the house, the walls built, the floors in, the roof on, and windows and doors this year, I'd be ecstatic, quite frankly. And I still work full time, so it would be helpful if I could go help him, but I can't. So we'll see how that's going at the end of the year. We're going to check in and determine if we need to continue or not. So we're going, like I said, we're going on vacation in March, and that's what I have planned. Nothing else to talk about, I guess. So I'll let you go, and I will talk to you probably in about 2 weeks. I'm going to guess it's going to be 2 weeks. So take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye, Flosstube.